And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Die Burgundy, also known as, at the very bottom, I didn't even notice this for a long time, it's the Castles of Burgundy. I tend to call it the burger game, which it has nothing to do with burgers at all, as I found out. In fact, it's like your typical eurogame. It's about, what is it here? You're building kingdoms and trading in the 15th century. Come on now! What is... the 15th century? Building castles? Come on now. Really? Alright. Let's look at it. Maybe it's good. So there are two boards on the table. There's the main board that the player has, and then each player has their own board. Now, this is the regular board that everyone starts with, and it's kind of like a practice board, but if you want to, you can then change to other layouts if you want to play a more advanced game. And it's not really a more advanced game, it's just a different game. Players will be collecting some resources over the course of the game, but what they are doing mostly is they are building up this region here. They're putting different tiles on here that match the colors. Now, they're going to be doing that by getting the colors. And at the beginning of each round, there are 5 rounds in the game. At the beginning of each round, these tiles of different colors are placed on the different numbers here, face up, depending on how many players are in the game. So you just saw me put those on 3s, so that's if a 3 player is playing, and then I'd put them on all the 3s or 2s. And so there's different colors. There's yellow, which are special tiles that when you get them, they'll give you some sort of special action. There's green, which are pasture tiles, which can expand your farm. There are brown buildings. A building will give you a special ability, just like the yellow tiles do, although the yellow tiles are more geared towards the end of the game, while the brown buildings are for now. There's gray, which is mines, and that's all about getting more money. There's blue, which are sea tiles, and that's all about kind of shipping goods to the other world. And then there are the green castle tiles, which are kind of like wild. Then in the middle there's black tiles, and the black tiles are interesting because when you turn them over, they're black on the back, but on the front they could be any of the colors. So here you can see that I had turned over a dark green castle, a couple buildings, a yellow tile, and a green tile in the middle. And then there's a stack of goods that you'll have on each of these 5 things here to show each of the 5 phases of the game. And then for each phase, I'll turn over those goods and place them face up over here. And those are goods that people can get. As the game progresses, players will be getting goods and placing them in 3 different piles on their board. So you can have 3 different goods at any time, as long as they're the same kind. If you get more than that, then you have to get rid of one of the goods you have already. So the first thing players will do on their turn is they roll dice. And you roll dice, and one player rolls this white die. And they do that because the one good at the top here is going to go to section 3, because that's a 3 was rolled. Players will then look at the numbers that they've rolled on the dice. Let's say I rolled a 1 and a 5 like that. That gives me some options. First of all, it lets me take a tile. I can take a tile from the 1 section or the 5 section using the appropriate die. So let's say I want a ship tile. I take that tile from that section and I place it down here. I have 3 spots where I can put tiles down. So if I take one and it's full, I'll have to discard them. That's one of the things I can do. I could have also taken the 5 one. But let's say I took it from the 1. Now I can place this tile on my board. That's another action I can do. And I rolled a 5 from my other die, so I have to place it on a blue 5, which I happen to have. And so I put the ship there. As soon as I place it on my board, it often gives me a special action. Putting a castle on your board gives you an action of putting another tile down for free. Putting a ship down lets me ship out one of my sets of goods here. And also I can claim, well, I'm sorry, I don't ship out one of my goods. I can claim one of these piles of goods on the board and take it and add it to my goods piles. I can, when I build buildings, they'll give me special abilities. The yellow one, special abilities. When I put out pastures, I'm going to get points equal to how many animals it shows on that pasture. And if I can put it next to the same kind of animal, I'll score points for those animals also. And you get points for finishing off a whole section. Now, some sections are small. Obviously, if I put a castle down on this board, that's a small section, and I'm going to score instantly. And if I put 3 yellows in a row here, I'm going to score for that section too. When you do that, you'll take a look closely at this chart here, which shows you the size of the section, and that shows how many points you get for it. So a section at size 1 gets you 1 point, while a section at size 8 is going to get you 36 points. But you also look here at the top of the board, of the main board, and depending what phase of the game it's in, you will also score that many points. So sections that are scored in the first phase will score 10 points, while you will only get 2 points in the 5th phase. So in the first phase, I might want to score a section that's only one size. It only gives me 1 point plus 10. That's 11. While if I scored that same thing in the last round, I'm going to get 1 plus 2, which is only 3. But usually then you're scoring the big one, so I might score one at 6 and get 21 plus 2, 23. So that's an interesting way that the game works. You get some other points as the game progresses. You can also use a die to ship off one of your goods, so as long as it matches that kind of good. So if this one matched that, I can turn that over, and that will give me money, and money is critical because money lets me buy these black tiles in the middle and utilize them. And it also will give me victory points whenever I ship goods. And you can also always use a die, just any die, doesn't matter, get rid of it, and take 2 of these worker tokens. In the future, worker tokens can add or subtract 1 to your dice that are rolled. And it does loop. So for example, if you add 1 to a 6, it changes to a 1. And so that's some pretty neat, mechanics to manipulate your dice. Your board here has a bit of a thing that tells you kind of what each of the tiles do to some degree, and it shows you what all the buildings do, but it doesn't show you what all the yellow tiles do, and you'll probably need the full explanation of everything in the rule book. But after 5 phases, you'll see who has the most points from all the different scoring. You'll score some final points from controlling resources and such like that, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. Even though I think the theme should be put through a meat grinder with extreme prejudice, this is a good Euro game. In fact, it's going to replace Goa for me. Now, they're not really similar, although they're both, I guess they're similar in the fact that they're both Euro games with idiotic themes. But the Castles of Burgundy just has so many options, and it has dice, and I like dice. And using dice with a Euro-style game is something that I like. You roll a dice and what the numbers do, and you can turn the numbers to what you want. There's tiles in different spots. You can mess with each other a little bit, but when to score, do you want to score at the beginning and get more points, or score big later on? There's the variable boards. Everyone starts with the same board in the basic game, but you have variable boards that you can use, and I really enjoyed that. And I didn't mention in the review that you just saw, but there's the first person to build in each one gets an extra victory point token. And so it seems like it has all these things from Euro games, but this one just fits together smoothly. And this is important, it makes an excellent 2-player game. Really, there's not a lot of these Euro games that I like playing 2 players, but this one I do. Le Havre is a good example of one I enjoy playing 2 players, like with my wife, and this one's along the same way, and it just is easy. My only negatives against it, really, other than the idiotic theme, come on, is that the buildings and the yellow tiles, we're constantly looking them up. They're hard to see sometimes, and if you play in poor lighting, the yellow and green tiles are a little difficult to tell apart from each other. Those are minor quibbles. Either way, it's certainly a game that I'm going to hang on to for now, and that is the Castles of Hamburger or Cheeseburger or Burgundy.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.